What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. We're back talking about the Six Nations team announcements. Today we're on to France. France, very exciting team going in. Currently favourites to win this year. The bookies have them down as the favourites. For me, it is absolutely looking like it's going to be between France and Ireland. And best news of all, it's the first game of the Six Nations that gets to decide potentially how the Six Nations is won or lost. Going to be fantastic to watch. Now, a lot of new names in this French team for me, which is really enjoyable because I really enjoy getting to see new players coming into the international scene, getting to learn a little bit about them, taking on a bit of news from you guys as well down in the comment section. One thing that will come with a lot of new names is going to be pronunciation issues, okay? I do try my best. Some people get really irate about not quite landing a pronunciation. I have my own accent. I don't have a French accent, and a lot of these names are going to be new for me. I really do try my best, but if there are any that you think, oh, he's quite a long way off with that one, feel free to drop down a bit of a phonetic spelling for me down in the comment section. It helps me learn, helps other people learn a little bit as we progress through the Six Nations. So we're going to have a run through of the team, have a look who's been picked, give a bit of a starting 15 made up from this team who we think would go on to play Ireland, talk about a couple of omissions along the way, and a couple that I'm still not quite sure of why they've been missed out from the team. So let's start out then with the hookers, because they've done the thing a lot of the other teams done with the actual names are in alphabetical order as opposed to in position order. But we'll start out with the hookers. So if I have to go a little bit up and down the list, bear with me for a second. So we have Barlow, Marchand, and Malvaca coming in as your hooker selections. Now, Julien Marchand for me would be your number one choice, right? Julien Marchand is an absolute monster hooker. Malvaca crushed the World Cup. In all honesty, you know, we saw Marchand go out so early on in that World Cup with his injury. Malvaca stepped up to the plate, and I don't think put a foot wrong through the entirety of the World Cup. I genuinely think both of the lads are actually competing to play against Ireland. I still imagine Galtier will lean towards Julien Marchand, but I think Malvaca is absolutely awesome. I really hope we get to see him have some big game time over the course of this Six Nations, because I think he's a really good hooker, but unfortunately just alongside someone like Julien Marchand can sometimes be maybe a little bit tricky to actually get in that starting lineup. In terms of the props, we have Aldegheri, Antonio, Bai, Leclerc, Taufai Fanua, a new Taufai Fanua. For me, this is Sebastian Taufai Fanua, and Wardy coming in last for the prop department. For me, in terms of looking at that Ireland team, scrummaging, set piece is going to be a massive thing. The scrummaging in particular, the breakdown is another one that Ireland love to get involved with. A lot of their forwards, really big players that enjoy just trying to dominate those areas and take over the game. For me here, I'm looking at Cyril Bai and Antonio coming in there as well. I think gives you that strong scrummaging front row. You partner that up with the Marchand. That's good scrummaging that we've seen before in the past. And Cyril Bai as well is not just solid in your set piece, but in terms of your breakdown, he's a prop that loves jackling. What more do you want in the world? You know, that's what you want. See a big boy getting into the rucks, get his hands on the ball, win you a couple of penalties. I think Cyril Bai for me absolutely needs to get the lot in that starting prop position. On to the locks then, where there's a lot of new names for me coming in the locks. I'm really looking forward to see some of these lads. So bear with me while I try and get some of these names correct. We have Gabriel Gas, Halagu, Maifu, Taufai Fanua, and Kamwoki down there in the bottom. Now, a lot of these new lads coming in, uncapped players, brand new for me to look at. I have been trying to look up a couple of bits of information about them. The lad there, Emmanuel Maifu, or Mayfu, I've heard a couple of other pronunciations, looks like an absolute monster. He looks enormous. He's like 6'8" and like 150 something kilos. I can't remember what it was. But he is a big old unit. And I can't believe he's a lock. I can't believe people are going to lift him up in a line out. Looks like he must weigh an absolute ton. Looking forward to have a look how he gets on. This forward pack actually from France entirely looks like a lot of big units. I think they're really looking to try and up that power game. And we'll get on to the backs in a second, but I think they're maybe looking at potentially across this tournament, we might even see a couple of 6-2s coming in from France over the Six Nations, and maybe even trying to push how the size and the weight of a couple of these forwards, maybe to see if they can dominate some teams. Maybe they've seen what South Africa are doing and how that is allowing them to win games by taking over those set piece areas. But that Maifu lad is a monster, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him get in. In the back rows, Abadi, Gregory, Aldrit, Bourron, Francois Cross, Jolon, and Charles Olivon. Now, Gregory Aldrit is going in as the captain. Apparently, this took a few people by surprise. I mean, they've got other lads in there, that are long-standing, in the team. Charles Olivon's been captain for France before, over a good number of games. I feel like Julien Marchand's also taken over as captain right before. But of course, we have no Antoine Dupont this year. So it's going to be making a little bit of a shift of that captaincy role moving over. Gregory Aldrit, I believe, is sort of renowned for being a bit of a leader over in the French camp anyway. So makes for a good choice. And I'm sure Charles Olivon will be taking over as well if he needs to come off the pitch or what have you. On to the scrum half selection then, because it's opened up. No Antoine Dupont, the number one scrum half, number one back, number one player in the world, in some people's opinions. Not in this side, going over to sevens, I believe. So the door is open for somebody else to get involved with this team now. So we've got Le Garac, Lucu, and Gibert is like a 9 and a 10. I believe he plays over at 10 at club level, but also can play 9. So it's a little bit tricky to work out how they're gonna organise that. Jalibert is also in there as like the standalone kind of fly half. I mean, Melvin Jaminet can also go in at 10. I think there's a lot of mixing up going on here. It's going to be really interesting to see how the choices work for France. I imagine they're looking at it more like Le Garac and Lucu are the scrum halves, and Gibert and Jalibert are going to be the fly halves. They've sort of got a 2 and 2. But I think the way the backs are set up, I think they've got the ability to move players around. So although there's only 2 and 2, like I said, I think that you've got full backs who can move into that fly half if you need to. Gibert can move into the scrum half position if you need him to and free up that 10 position. So I think there's a lot of moving around going on. So I'm looking forward to see how that gets on across the tournament. In terms of our centres, we have Jonathan Darnty going alongside of Deportier. Hopefully that's sort of along the lines of the pronunciation, right? Not a name I know at all. Ficou, Galton, and Mofana going in there. For me, going up against Ireland, it's got to be Jonathan Darnty and Gal Ficou, right? Two absolute monsters in the centre in terms of your defence. You've got to shut down what I imagine the Irish will go for will be Bundyaki and Gary Ringrose. You need two lads who are experienced, who are going to be able to hold them up and run your defensive line just to try and shut those lads down. I think Jonathan Darnty and Ficou are the way I go. And then finally, in the back three, I guess Mofana could also be lumped in with the wing. He plays centre or wing. Biel Biarri, Labelle, Penaud, and Jaminet. Oh, and Ramos, sorry, as well. They're all out of a little bit of order for me. So they've got a nice selection there. The back three is actually going to be quite an experienced back three, considering we've got quite a few of the new players dotted around there. For me, in terms of this starting team to go against Ireland, I think Ramos is still taking that fullback position for me. Damien Penaud is on the right wing, of course he is. Left wing, opens the door for who might want to go in there. I still like Biel Biarri. I mean, he's still low on caps, but he got into the World Cup and I think played well in the World Cup. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe Mofana gets to see him out on that wing just for that first game, because it's Ireland. It's probably the biggest game for France over the course of the Six Nations and what I'm expecting. So maybe they would want someone with a few more caps, but I think Biel Biarri was playing well. I might like to see him stay out there, give him a big game in front of a home crowd. I think it could be, a really big one for him. A couple of names missing off from this list, which I've tried looking up. Baptiste Savin, I thought maybe, no Dupont. I mean, he's always sort of fell second string to Dupont, unfortunately. I believe he's still available for international selection, hasn't found himself in there. No Thibaut Flamand either. Now, I've had a quick look about Thibaut Flamand, because the only reason I can imagine he's not in the team is an injury. I can't seem to find news of an injury on Google or whatever. If you do know of an injury, drop it down in the comment sections. Sekou Makalu. No? Really? Again, I think the way this team is building, with a lot of these big power forwards, a lot of weight going on there, partnered up with how many of these players in the backs seem to be able to cover multiple positions, and you can sort of go to 4 players on the cards there to cover scrum half and fly half, and how you might see them interchange. It wouldn't surprise me if we get to see 6-2s, and Makalu feels like a great player to fit in there for being able to play in the back row or shift him out onto a wing as well, because he's got some good pace to burn. Thought he might got in the team. Couple of different names missing out there, which is unfortunate. But as a French team goes, it's a strong-looking French team. Nice to see some new names there. I'm going to be keeping a couple of eyes out, especially for this Emmanuel Mafu coming in there, because he looks like an absolute beast. I can't wait to see him play. I'm hoping he doesn't play the Wales game. Move on from the Wales game. Play some of the other teams, because I think he might be a bit unstoppable if he gets on a charge. The backs, though, look experienced. I think they're going to set up for a really solid team, and hopefully we'll get a really fantastic opening game of the Six Nations that might be the decider of who actually wins it by the end of it, because I can see this team and that Ireland team doing very, very well over the course of the Six Nations. But let me know what you guys think of the team down in the comment sections. Is there anyone missed off on this list that you think absolutely should have got in this team? You can't believe someone got in the team who, is in the team already. Whatever you think, drop it down in the comment section. Like I said, if I got any of the pronunciations wrong, give me a pinch of salt. I'll try my best when I get around to these pronunciations. As the tournament goes on, I'll probably have a couple of the new names coming in here that I'll try and work on my pronunciations a bit. But I hope you all enjoyed this one today, guys. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.